What's going on, guys? Hey, we have got another brand new CivDiv video. He is dropping all kinds of content lately, but this one says, would these bizarre military drones actually survive combat? So this is going to be cool. Just weird drone tech, and CivDiv, it was a drone engineer, like a builder and pilot. So he probably has pretty good knowledge on this kind of stuff. So this is going to be cool. Please go check out CivDiv's channel. He's the GOAT when it comes to all this kind of content, man. And he's been in multiple theaters of war, combat different countries. I mean, very experienced. So check out CivDiv. Jump on our Discord if you're not already. Grab a t-shirt if you want one. And let's get after it. This is a shorter video, so let's see.
Most drones in the battlefield right now are able to carry 1-to-1 of their weight. So this thing with a battery on top weighs about 2 kilos. Thus, it can carry about 2 kilos of payload. But one of the more interesting things I've seen this week was the DARPA Lift Challenge, where they invited hundreds of drone manufacturers to bring one of their drone designs to go and break that limit of 1-to-1 and make it 4-to-1, which was pretty fun to go and see the live stream. Joshua Bardwell, he was the one commentating. But I'm gonna go and kind of break it down for you guys a little bit and then talk about some of the drones that I saw and what I think of them. So some of the limitations from DARPA was that it had to be under 55 pounds. It had to go at least 5 miles. It had to do multiple flights, both loaded and unloaded, be able to conduct routine, precise landings on a board, as well as some other things that they had to do in this course. But a little spoiler alert, although they came pretty close, they weren't able to fit into that exact criteria at all. So that $6.5 million prize pool was cut in half for the top team. Now, I do want to speak about the winner, which was from Avi Drone, which used a 29-pound conventional helicopter-style drone, which they call the Katana, which ended up being a 3.84 to 1 payload ratio, which is pretty sick. And, you know, the second and third place and
Looks like a dragonfly.
Going on from that came pretty close as well. They're all within 3-to-1 or 3.5-to-1. But that was the purpose of it, was to go and push the boundaries, see how far we could take these drones. So myself, as kind of a fake engineer, but I do make FPVs. There's a couple ways that you can make this drone fly with more thrust and be able to carry more weight. One of them is the battery, okay? This is a standard 6S LiPo battery. This is pretty standard, what you see in Ukraine. So what I assume those guys were using was not a 6S, but rather a 10 or 12S. And how the battery impacts the thrust has to do with the voltage. So this goes to 22.2. But when they go up to 10 or 12S, which is what I assume they were doing, that voltage goes up and they're able to get more thrust. The next thing that they would want to upgrade in order to get this to carry more weight would be the motors. So the higher the RPM, the different shapes on the motors, the different magnets that are in them, they're going to impact how much thrust you get. So I think that they used a specialized motor or something a lot bigger. And some of them even had 6 or 8 motors. We've seen this in Ukraine. I've been on missions in Ukraine where we were using the vampires and the Baba Yagas, and they're great, but they don't have that 4-to-1 ratio. That's really what DARPA was looking for. And the last thing that could impact your battery life as you're there, because you still have to go 5 miles with that payload, would be the frame. So because the 4-to-1 seems so impossible, a lot of the guys tried to go and make a VTOL or some other really strange drone design, which surprised me were kind of effective. So instead of purely using the motors to create thrust, they would also strange drone design, which surprised me were kind of effective.
What are those other things in the air?
So instead of purely using the motors to create thrust, they would also use the airframe to go and kind of glide in the wind, which is really neat. But that's where I want to come in with my military knowledge of using these drones in warfare. Now, obviously, DARPA isn't looking just for these bombing drones. That's not just the purpose of it. It's also for construction. It's for Coast Guard, it's for rescue and delivering supplies, in military capacity and not. But from a bomber drone perspective, from something in the military, I have to say that the frame and how easily assemblable it is.
That's crazy. 2 fixed wings that are attached, and so they're just flying in circles, creating this circular motion, which keeps it in the air. That is nuts to see.
It matters a lot. There's a reason that although it could be more aerodynamic or a better flight experience, that we still just use quads in Ukraine. And that's because it's easy to repair. You got the 4 motors, you know exactly where the wires are, they're right there. It's one connected frame and it doesn't move and it's pretty compact. Whereas a lot of these experimental drones that, were able to fit the criteria somewhat close, they're not really friendly to the user. And I think that could be an issue. But again, I'm not trying to discount any of these guys. I mean, this is incredible engineering. It was really cool to go and see. And this is also the exact reason why DARPA also had an innovation prize of $500,000. And that's to really let the engineers just do their thing. Give us the product that you think would work best, no matter what it looks like, no matter the functionality. Just innovate. Try something new. I mean, they didn't fail to do that. The 60 teams that ended up competing, they really showed up with some cool stuff. So to end this video, let's talk about what would the purpose of this be, this competition. The first one would be frontline resupply. This is something I'm very passionate about. This is something we used this drone for in Ukraine, this exact one. With the servos, it was to deliver food, water, lightweight stuff. Under 2 kilos, we can deliver it to them. That was about half the missions we did with this drone. That is an issue on the front line right now, is getting food, water, bullets to the frontline guys. And the US military understands that, very obviously. And the next reason that I can think of for this program would be the distributed operations, which is so vital in Asia and the Pacific. You want to be able to pop in a bunch of Marines on an island, keep them there, but also be able to resupply them without landing on the beach and exposing yourself to missile barrages. So to have a drone that's just so effective for what it's supposed to do, to be able to put a Browning on a hilltop with a bunch of ammunition, to be able to transfer supplies from one group to the other without making a lot of movement, which is where people get killed on the front line. You want to be able to give them a really strong capability of carrying stuff a distance where it's difficult or dangerous for a soldier to do so. And the next reason is emergency response. So Coast Guard, there's one of them that was very clearly made for it. They had a frame that's inflatable. It's meant to land on water and be able to deliver things. And the next reason would be infrastructure inspection. Mavics are able to do that. Skydios are able to do that with their thermal camera as well as their daytime cameras. Zooming in. It's something that drones were used for before Ukraine. But right now there's a bottleneck with the drones that they're not able to carry all the sensors that they would love to have on there. Having a giant light on it, some more sophisticated sensor that just can't be carried by any of the drones that we have today. And obviously the next one would be bombing. I think that bombers are the answer when it comes to strikes inside of Asia, with the mountains, with the tropics. It's very difficult to conduct kamikaze missions. You need to have bombers that can, drop something from a high altitude. And it's just better if it's bigger. You know what I mean? That's my best guess. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something. I think a lot of the videos were pretty cool to watch, even the failures. Innovation, that's just how it is. The engineering process is really fun, but there's a lot of damage and money involved. Making this guy, we didn't change anything with this for 6 months. This was the frame, these were the motors, we had the camera, everything was the same except for the antenna and the receiver and the VTX. It was just the radio emissions, but that still kept us from being operational, and it destroyed about 20 of these drones as we're doing test flights, trying to push the limits about how far we could drop a payload and then come back. So even a simple issue that has nothing to do with the flight characteristics of this drone can cause it to crash 20 times, a lot of money, 6 months of time that could have been spent on the battlefield. That's just how engineering goes. We'll still get a little chuckle when I look at some of the drones they brought out there. I thought it was fun though, and I thought you guys enjoyed it as well. Kind of goes with what I speak about from my experience in Ukraine. So thanks for listening, guys. I'll see you guys next one. Peace.
Dude, that is so cool. Hold on, what is this? Oh, those are members.
We're able to fit the crowd.
So the
week was the DARPA.
So the kicker, obviously, the difficulty of this is the ratio, right? The 4-to-1 ratio, because there's lots of heavy bomber drones that can carry big, heavy loads, but they're also very heavy drones, right? So that's the big hurdle is the ratio, getting that 4-to-1 ratio. I think, in theory, it would be really cool, obviously, to have a ratio like that. I just don't think it's very practical. I don't know if they're, at least in today's technological world, there's anything that necessarily could do that. But at the same point, I don't know exactly, because like SibDiv said, my mind is always going to the war, though, how they can be used in combat. And I don't know if that's necessarily... I was going to say, I don't know if that's exactly what you want in combat, but a ratio like that is good no matter what, and no matter how you slice it. It's just not realistic, really. I would say, typically, like SibDiv said, at least with FPVs for sure, and most Mavics, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. They can carry about as much weight as they are heavy. But with these heavy dropper drones, I've seen, and they can be really heavy, but I think that's more of a 2-to-1 ratio. They can carry on about double their weight. But 4 times their weight, gosh, man, that is what a challenge. I mean, you got to get like Elon Musk and head scientists from NASA together and to design something like that. Because I went to this drone conference in Western Ukraine earlier this year, and I was able to see a lot of really cool stuff. And one of the main um, corners that's being cut, if you will, to make these drones lighter weight is, like Sibdiv said, the frame. But they're using a lot of air airplane technology, the materials that are used in spaceships, things that have to be extremely lightweight but very durable, like titanium, for example. Of course, something like that's not. It would be extremely expensive, and it's not sustainable. It's not very repeatable, and it's not scalable, I should say. That's one of the largest benefits of these FPVs that are in Ukraine, is that any monkey can pretty much put one together, and they are cheap to make, they're easy to fly, they're easy to make, they're everything about it is scalable. It's user friendly, it's easy, it's cheap. So that's the big thing. When you start looking into ratios like a 4-to-1 ratio, you're looking at a lot of technology, in my opinion, in a drone that, if it were used in combat, could very well just get wasted. So, such a cool video, man. This is awesome. I wish I knew about this DARPA lift challenge thing. I'm going to look more into it. Very, very cool, though. I'm curious if there was any Ukrainian teams in the 60 teams that were involved, because that would be pretty interesting. I do believe that Ukraine is by far the leader in drone technology. So if we're not seeing 4-to-1 ratio in Ukraine, we're not going to see it anywhere else, in my opinion. So super cool. Check out Sibdiv, and please like, share, subscribe on my channel. I love you guys. We'll see you in the next video.